In this video, it's an analysis of an advanced reading part 7 from the Cambridge exam. Very, very difficult vocabulary, very advanced vocabulary, and very good expressions. So I will show you the reading and I will also show you the questions, and I will focus primarily on the vocabulary and the expressions because it's a very difficult task and it's a difficult exercise. And this is exactly the type of exercise you receive in the Cambridge exams, but also in the IELTS and also in Escuela Oficial de Idiomas at the advanced C1 level. So I'm very interested to look at the vocabulary and the expressions to try to help, but at the same time, in the exams, your job is really to find the correct answer. So I'm going to show you the screen, and you can see here on the left is the question really. So we have a full text. The topic is the Scottish wildcat, you can see here, and it's a full page. We have a lot of vocabulary, a very long text. And on the right, you can see we have paragraphs, paragraph A to G, and it's necessary to put the correct paragraph in the correct position in the text. It's extremely difficult because of the vocabulary, and there are similarities in the paragraphs as well. But really, your job is to select the correct paragraph, and it's very difficult. So for me, I just want to help to try to explain the vocabulary and try to identify the key vocabulary first. That might be difficult, and then after, maybe yourself on your own, you can try to make the connections and you can try to do the exercise as well. I can try to give you some tips and some advice about how to select the correct paragraph, but primarily the focus is just to really concentrate on the difficult vocabulary and the difficult expressions. This is an example of the material we focus on in the webinar every week. We have a webinar on relation to the advanced exams, and they are on Thursday at 4 o'clock. And this is the material we did yesterday. So on the left, I'm going to begin. Here we have a painting in my living room of the wildcat John Holmes, of which I'm extremely fond. The word fond is very important. For example, I am fond of football, I am fond of chocolate, and the significance is you really like or you really enjoy football or you really enjoy chocolate. So you're a fond supporter, or this person is very fond of chocolate, and that means they really like chocolate. So it's very difficult. It depicts or describes or shows. Snarling is very difficult as well. So that's very advanced, and it's the typical verb to snarl, which is related maybe to the animal. The action that the animal makes when they're very angry or they're very aggressive is to snarl. And it's a metaphor maybe for people. If a person is very angry, you can say the person is snarling. So it's really, really difficult vocabulary. And this is the description of the animal in the painting. The animal is snarling. So they're really angry and they're almost very, very aggressive. Okay, so as I said, with people, it's possible maybe to say the same. You could say the person is very angry and he or she is snarling. Okay, spitting is important vocabulary as well. The verb is to spit, and it's very maybe rude. So if you're eating the food and you don't like the food, you spit out the food. Very, very vulgar and very disgusting. You can spit at the person. But we have some expressions as well. You can say you are the spit of your friend, and the significance is you look the same as your friend. So if you are the spit of your brother, you are the spit of your sister, the significance is you look exactly the same as your brother or your sister. Okay, also maybe a big city, for example London. London can suck you in and spit you out. Because it's a big city, it's maybe unfriendly sometimes. It's very easy to feel lonely in a big city, so it can take you in and spit you back out as well. So that's a possibility as well. It's flexible, and normally a lot of vocabulary is very flexible and adaptable in different situations, and spit is exactly the same. Okay, the next expression is very good and very advanced, the teeth bared. So this word bare is very important. We say bare hands, we can say bare feet, and the significance is you have no material on your hands, so you construct the building with your bare hands. So you have no gloves, no protection, it's your bare hands. And barefoot as well is the adjective, and the significance is you have no socks, you have no shoes, it's just the skin. So you are barefoot, and the significance is you have no protection for your feet. Okay, but if your teeth are bared, that basically means to show your teeth, and that's another expression as well, to show your teeth. And this is a metaphor if you're very, very angry and you maybe are attacking somebody or very aggressive in business, in lots of situations, you bare your teeth, and it means to show your teeth, which is a synonym really to snarl. Okay, so really good vocabulary. And in this picture, the animal has the teeth bared, so they're showing the teeth because they're very aggressive. And then the pronunciation, back arched or arched, sorry. So this is the confusion because the CH sometimes is difficult. And in English, this word is an arch. So the back is arched, okay? And if you're in the city center, you can see the arch. The arch is at the top of the door. And if your back is arched, it's like curved, okay? So it's very descriptive vocabulary, very advanced vocabulary, and maybe difficult as well to understand. But remember, the CH is very flexible because you can say stomach, you can say ache. So for the pronunciation, it's very key. So here it's like a K, headache, toothache, backache, or your stomach is like a K. But then finally, we have another possibility, church, which is the CH, and the pronunciation is completely different. And here it's like the CH, like the church, arched. Okay, so you need to be careful always with the CH. The next words are very, very advanced as well. A taut, coiled spring, ready to unleash some unknown fury. So really, really good vocabulary. And fury is like very angry as well. So the person is furious. They're very angry is the adjective, furious, and the noun is the fury. Okay, so it's really, really good vocabulary. Fury is the noun. And as I said, furious is the adjective, but also the verb here is to unleash. And this is really good vocabulary as well. So the first significance with unleash is the noun unleash, and that's typical related to the dog. So you take the dog for a walk and the dog is controlled by the leash. So the leash is like the cable or the rope or the cord that you control the dog. That's the leash. So if the dog is on the leash, the significance is you have control of the dog. But if you unleash the dog, that means you liberate the dog, and probably the dog will attack or the dog will run. And that's the significance really, to unleash the power, to unleash the potential, is maybe to liberate the potential and to give freedom to the potential and give freedom to the dog. And in this situation, it's giving freedom to the fury. Okay, so it's creating a lot of angry situations and creating a lot of fury. So it's really fluent and really advanced vocabulary. Maybe you can say to keep the person on the leash, which is maybe typical as well in lots of situations. For example, children have a holiday from school and the children travel together and they need a teacher to keep the children on the leash. So to keep them controlled, to keep them well behaved, that's very important as well. And to keep a person on the leash as well is good. But the verb here is to unleash, which, as I said, is like to liberate. Okay. Taught is very, very advanced vocabulary as well. It's the same pronunciation as teach and taught, but the spelling is completely different. So the verb to teach is aprender in Spanish, and the past is taught. But this word, the adjective taught, is completely different. The significance is with the rope or the cable. And if the rope is maybe taut, like this, I'll show you my cable. So this is like a rope. And if the rope is like this, it's not taut. But if the rope is like this, it's taut. So it's very, very advanced vocabulary. And it means maybe a lot of tension, and it's very straight. So also the key here is a spring. So the spring is related to the mattress and it's related to the watch. So in the watch, you have a little spring, and in the mattress for the bed, colchón in Espanol, you have the springs. Muelle, I think in Espanol is the correct translation. Muelle is a little spring, okay? And this is the significance for the seasons. For example, summer, winter, autumn, and spring, because spring, you move from winter to summer. So it's the movement of spring, okay? We say you have spring in your step, and that means you're very positive, you're very enthusiastic, you're very happy today. So you have a spring in your step. And we say maybe nothing springs to mind, and the significance, nothing comes to mind. You cannot think of the answer. Nothing springs to mind. And here it's related to the material in your watch or in the mattress. It's a spring. It's the physical object. Okay. So it's very taut and coiled. Okay. So coil is very difficult as well. I think a coil is like a piece of a machine, and the verb to coil is when, as I said, the tension is like this, when the rope is very like this, okay, and then coiled is maybe like this action in a circle shape. So possibly That's an interesting example of coiled, but it's usually maybe with metal, and it's usually with maybe more with stronger material. So for example, if you have a lot of pain in your stomach, you are coiled up in a ball. Okay, so it's very advanced and it's very, very difficult. But here it's related to the spring. So the spring is coiled like spiral in a circle. Very, very difficult paragraph. The first paragraph is very, very difficult for vocabulary. So my recommendation with this exercise probably is to read very, very quickly the full text. So in the exams, it's necessary to probably read the full text very, very quickly, to scan or to skim, and then also read your options here. And the best advice is to read the sentence before the gap, and then also to read the sentence after the gap and try to make a connection with each paragraph. That's the best way to try to do this exercise, because in the exams, you only have maybe approximately 10, 11, 12 minutes on average to do this exercise. So it's impossible to read all the material. It's impossible to understand all the vocabulary. It's not your job to understand all the vocabulary. It's not necessary to understand all the vocabulary. Your job is to select the correct answer, okay? And it's completely different exercise to select the correct answer compared to understanding all the vocabulary. But during this video, I just want to try to help a little specifically with the vocabulary. Okay, so in the next paragraph, I think most things are maybe similar with, or maybe understandable. The first paragraph was very difficult, but I think this paragraph is not as difficult. And this verb is very, very important, to weigh. The pronunciation is to weigh, and the substantive is the weight. So the difference really is the T. The verb is to weigh with no T, and the substantive or the noun is the weight with the T. So it's really, really important. It's the same pronunciation as to weight, exactly the same, but completely different significances. Okay, so here it's weighing in some cases up to 7 kilos, the same as a typical male fox. And excuse me. So the fox is obviously a type of an animal, but with a metaphor in relation to a person. You can say the person is a fox, and the significance is maybe very, very clever, maybe very strategic, maybe very tactical. So they're clever as a fox. So they're maybe very secret, and they do not tell you the plan, but they're very maybe clever and very intelligent, like a fox. Okay, that's a very, very famous expression. And maybe in a romantic situation, a very attractive person could be a foxy person, is possible as well. And I think in other languages, it's the same. So most vocabulary here is not too difficult. Stripes and no spots. So the stripes are the object or the pattern on the person or the animal. Stripes, and the spot is like a little circle. Maybe the Dalmatians have a lot of spots, and the stripes is the material, is the pattern on the clothes. Okay, thicker is related to the tail, and remember, tail is for the animal, and thick is like espeso in Espanol. For example, the book is very thick, the soup is very thick. Okay, so the book is thick, the soup is thick, and it's possible a person is thick, but that's really an insult. Okay, so if the person is thick, the significance is they are maybe silly, but it's maybe a vulgar insult like stupid. And it's very, very typical as well in conversation that the person is thick and it's a bit rude and impolite. Okay, and blunter. So this word is really, really important. The adjective is blunt, and the best example is the pencil is blunt, or the person is very blunt. Okay, so really the significance with the pencil is the opposite is sharp. Okay, in Spanish it's afilado, but the opposite in English is blunt. So the pencil is very blunt. It means it's very flat. And we use this expression for a person. If the person is very blunt, the significance is they are very honest, they are very direct, but possibly very rude and possibly impolite. So if the person is very blunt, they're very honest, but maybe they're very, very rude. And that's really typical expression as well. So here it's related to the tail of the animal. The tail is blunt. The opposite is sharp, but in this situation, the tail of the cat is blunt. Okay, so just good vocabulary. With 3 to 5 black rings, the animal has an altogether heavier look. And this word altogether is very, very important as well. It means maybe totally, or completely. Okay, so for example, I am completely happy, or I'm altogether happy with the news. I'm altogether happy with the situation, and the significance is I am completely happy with the situation. It's very conversational. And here I am altogether happy with the situation, and it means completely happy with the situation. Okay, so it's really advanced as well, but very conversational and very, very typical. Good, and that's very, very common. The next paragraph, the wildcat was originally distinguished. So this word is very important for pronunciation. The verb is to distinguish, and the typical preposition we say is to distinguish between. Okay, so just the pronunciation, to distinguish. And also we have another verb which is very similar in pronunciation, to extinguish, and we also say anguish. Okay, so to distinguish is similar, I think, in Spanish for the significance, but the significance in English is to identify between. So it's difficult for you to distinguish between the two things. Okay, extinguish is related to the fire. So if you want to, the phrasal verb we use in English is to put out the fire. If you want to put out the fire, the significance is to extinguish the fire, to stop the fire. But the phrasal verb is to put out the fire, and that's really, really good. Maybe you can say, I was put out, and that means that you felt a little bad for the situation. You felt neglected, you felt ignored, you felt upset. So I feel put out because of the decision of another person. I feel ignored, I feel isolated, I feel neglected. So I feel put out. So that's very typical as well. So that maybe is neglected, feel maybe discriminated against, okay, or feel upset. So just again, another example of difficult vocabulary. In the rest of the paragraph, I think everything is okay. According to is like según in Espanol, according to my friend, according to him, according to you. So it's según in Espanol, and in this situation, it's according to the report. Throughout is very important. So the animals originally occurred in a variety of habitats throughout Europe. That word is very important. It means all over Europe, but we also use it in relation to time. So for example, throughout the morning, throughout the evening, throughout the year, throughout the month, and it means during all the month or during all the year. Okay, during all the morning, during all the evening, throughout the day, throughout the week. And throughout Europe means in every part of Europe, throughout Ireland, every part of Ireland. And it's really, really good vocabulary as well. Okay, so that's an interesting paragraph, not too difficult. Now, your job is to try to select the correct answer with the paragraph. And I think I'll give you a little tip. The report is significant. So this report is very significant with the connection in the paragraph here, but this is really the job in the exam. Basically, I think it's related to C with the results. So the results are connected to the report. And I think that was the big tip. So I think that would be the correct answer, C for 42, but it's just a little advice because really the focus of this video is the vocabulary. So if we continue to the next paragraph, it was during the 19th century with the establishment of many estates, landowners. So the landowner is the person who owns the land, like the landlord. The landlord is the person who owns the house, the person who owns the property, but the landowner is the person who owns the land. Okay, so it's a little different. Landlord is the person for the property, and landowner is maybe the person who owns the land and not necessarily the property. The big word here that's very important is a nuisance. And this is really, really good vocabulary. So for example, you are a nuisance. Noise is a nuisance. Really, really good vocabulary. And the significance is like a little annoyance, a little molestar in Espanol, a little frustrating, something that bothers you, a noise. So it's really, really good vocabulary. And the noise is a nuisance. For example, the person is a nuisance. They annoy you, they frustrate you. And we have another expression. The noise is getting under my skin, or the person is getting under your skin. And the significance is that they are frustrating you, they are annoying you, or they are really a nuisance. Okay, so it's really, really good vocabulary. And here, the animal became a nuisance, like a problem for a lot of people. And I think that's the most typical vocabulary. This word is very important. The pronunciation, the species. So the species is the type of animal, and it's really just important for the vocabulary. But also we have an important verb, to breed. So to breed animals is to create animals. So if you breed the dogs, you create the dogs, you create the environment for the dogs to reproduce. So to breed an animal is to really be responsible for the reproduction of the animals. Okay. For example, we say, what breed is your dog? And that means what type of your dog. In Spanish, I think you say raza. But what breed of dog do you have is what type of dog. And a little joke, I suppose, in English we say to breed like rabbits is obviously, I think rabbits recreate a lot. So this is a joke as a metaphor for people that maybe have big families, is a possible joke, or a bit informal as well. So that's a possibility. And again, you need to make the connection here with this paragraph. You need to understand the sentiment, for example, killed, in decline. So really negative, the cat is in decline, the cat was killed. So really negative situation. However, things were later to improve for the species. And if we look at the paragraphs, we can maybe guess for a possible connection with the negative situation. And I think here it could be, I think A was the best answer because there was little persecution. The number of the wildcat began to increase its range. So obviously the previous paragraph was very negative, in decline, a lot of death, but things started to improve with the increase its range, and extinction was narrowly averted. So I think A was the correct option for 43, but you can see it's difficult and you need a lot of time. You need a lot of patience to analyze the vocabulary. You need a lot of time to understand the sentiment of the article. You need to understand the paragraph, and you only have maybe 10, 11, 12 minutes to really do this exercise. So it's a really tricky exercise, and you need to be familiar with the structure before you take an exam. So it's just important you're very familiar with the exercise before you really do the exam. And this preparation is very important. The next paragraph, by no means, is a very good expression. And if you want to say, for example, by no means do I think this is a bad restaurant. Okay. And that means really in no way. Okay. So it's really fluent and it's really typical, but it means basically in no way do I think this is a bad restaurant. Okay. So by no means is very fluent. And here, the future is not in any way secure. So it's absolutely not secure for the animal. Okay. Evidence suggests vulnerable, just the pronunciation. And if we continue to the next paragraph, a cause for concern is very famous as well, and very fluent and very good. So the situation is a cause for concern, really fluent, very simple, and just very cohesive, and very good linkers and very good vocabulary. Therefore, pure, no problem. The next paragraph, stems from, is really good. So part of the problem stems from the fact. So basically the stem of the tree or the stem of the plant is the bottom part of the plant. Yes, you have the root, but the stem is almost the same as the root. Okay, so it's really good vocabulary. So basically we say the stem of the problem is the root of the problem, or the bottom of the problem. Okay, really good vocabulary. And you can say the problem stems from this factor. Okay, so the problem comes from this factor, or the problem originates from this factor, or the root of the problem is here. So it's really fluent vocabulary. And here, part of the problem stems from, it comes from the fact. Physical description of the species, again, the pronunciation. And if we continue, I think here the paragraph is not too difficult. Remember, blunt-tailed tabby. So remember, blunt is the person who's very direct, very honest, and maybe rude. And I think a linker here, in other words, that's no problem, that's fine. And specimen, again, I think is similar in other languages. So not too difficult. This paragraph is not too difficult for vocabulary, but your job is to understand the sentiment, to understand what's happening, and to understand the feeling from the paragraph, because you need to make the connection with the next paragraph. Okay. The final part of that section, the current research, aims is like focuses. The aim of your job is the objective or the focus. So the research focuses, or the objective is to resolve this potential problem. Attempting is like trying. It's trying to find out, is to understand. Whether basically has the significance. If I don't know whether I go to the city centre or not, I don't know if I go to the city centre or not. And so-called is very good as well. So this restaurant is so-called the best restaurant in Ireland. So that means a lot of people say it's the best restaurant, but probably you disagree. Okay. Spain is so-called the most important tourist destination. So that means most people say it's the most important, but maybe Italy is more popular, for example. So so-called is when you use this in these type of situations for like stereotypes. Okay, so it's difficult. And I think, again, the research is the key here, and the research of the cat. And if we look at the options very quickly, I will see maybe, again, we have the results of the research. And I think C was the correct answer here. I think because, yes, there's another connection here for research, but I don't think it fits. I think C is what probably is the best option for 45, because the results of the research. I know previously we had another option here for the report, but it's a little bit different as well. I don't think we selected the same. So if we continue with the next paragraph, what of the lifestyle? Okay, so do you have a good lifestyle in Ireland? Do you have a good lifestyle in Brazil? It's the style of life, but really we say it's a good lifestyle. Living standards. Okay, so just vocabulary, living standards, lifestyle, just typical and good vocabulary for that. Secluded den. So a den is difficult vocabulary, and it's typical for children. So the place where the child goes when the child is very happy and the child plays a lot of games in a den. So in your house, you have maybe the front room, and in the corner of the front room is the comfortable place for the child. And this is the child's den. It's the location where they stay. It's the location where they're comfortable, and it's the location where they play the games. It's typical for an animal. I think the fox's den is the home for the animal and the home for the fox in particular. Okay. Amongst is like really with, but it's the same as among, and amongst are practically the same. It's just maybe a little bit more formal, and there's no real difference. So you are among friends and you are amongst friends. The significance is you are with your friends. Okay. And again, the roots of the tree, the root is the bottom of the tree. So it's difficult. And again, the location, it's talking about born. It's talking about the animal to be born. It's about the location when the cat is born. So if we look at the options, I think E is maybe the best option, because you can see after they are born, the animals emerge from the area. They emerge from the den. They emerge from this small place where they were born. Curiosity is aroused, and rustle is very difficult as well. So the verb to rustle is related to the noise. And when you're looking for something in my bag, I search my bag and there is a rustle. So I hear a noise. Okay, so it's really related to the noise and rustle in the vegetation. And after, they will accompany their mother. So it's the next step. After they are born, they emerge and they accompany their mother. So that's really the evidence for the correct solution for 46, or sorry, for 46, yeah, because it's after they are born. Okay, the next word is very important. Rabbits are a favorite prey. Okay, so this is very interesting, because the verb is to, two verbs. We say the verb to pray is in the religious situation. So if you pray, that's the significance and that's the pronunciation. But also we have another word which is completely different, a prey, or the verb to pray. And basically it's related to the wild, it's related to the animals. So you have the tiger, and the tiger is hunting, or the tiger is chasing the other animal, maybe the cat, and the cat is the prey. So this is the hunter and this is the prey. So the prey is the animal that the big animal is attacking. Okay, so basically there's a verb to prey on, and it's maybe typical for companies. For example, this company, the chocolate company, is preying on the teenagers with advertising. So they're targeting or they're focusing their advertisement maybe on the children because they want the children to buy the product. So they are preying on the children. It's negative and it's not good. And it's just, well, it is good vocabulary, but it's not good significance in that context. And here, rabbits are a favorite prey. So like a target, basically. Rabbits are a favorite target, very good vocabulary, more advanced and really good to use in different situations. Warrens, again, I think is the specific name of the place where the rabbit lives. It's very difficult for me. I'm not so familiar with this word. So during the exam, it's possible you will see words that you have never seen before, but it's not so important because your job is to answer the questions. Your job is not to understand everything. And this is an example. The warrens is a difficult word, but it's not your job to understand everything. Okay. And again, moorland, I think, is a specific type of land, and it's not so important in the exercise. Okay, but again, for me, it's the same as well. I'm not so familiar with the moorland, but it's very specific vocabulary. Okay, and then I think everything is okay. The last expression, there's two more expressions. To catch a glimpse is very important. The verb is to glimpse at or to glance at. And basically it's a small look. So if you glimpse at the television, you look quickly at the television. Almost the same. If you glance at the television, you look quickly, very, very quickly at the television. So to catch a glimpse, the significance is you catch a look. So for example, the celebrity is in the car and the celebrity is moving and you catch a glimpse of the celebrity. You just see the celebrity for a little moment. Okay, so it's really, really good. And here, catch a glimpse of one, the significance is you see a cat because they're difficult, they're very fast. But if you catch a glimpse, you see them very, very quickly. The memory will linger forever. Okay, and the verb is to linger. And it means maybe to stay. It's related to the smell. So if there's a bad smell and the bad smell continues and continues and continues and stays, that's the appropriate verb. We say the smell is lingering. Okay, so the smell is lingering and the significance is the smell is staying in that situation. So really good vocabulary. So difficult exercise, very, very difficult exercise. The best advice, again, is probably to read very, very quickly the full text first. And at the same time, you need to read all the options. So really, that's the secret. You have to read very, very quickly. You have to be accustomed to reading quickly. You have to be accustomed to scanning when you read and to skim. Okay, so they're typical vocabulary, to scan and to skim. And it's really, really important that you have that ability in these exams. Then you need to make the connections with the previous sentence and the previous paragraph. So this first paragraph is related to description of the picture. It's related to the really vocabulary related to the picture. So you need to make the connection with the paragraph with the next paragraph, depending on the substantive, depending on the noun, sometimes is the indicator, sometimes is the clue. Okay, difficult, very, very difficult. But again, the time is a big pressure in the exams. People need to be very comfortable with the pressure of the time in the exams. And this is the reason practice is very important, because you only have maybe 11, 12 minutes on average to complete this reading exercise. And for this reason, the practice is very important, to be very comfortable with this exercise. Okay, so then the vocabulary from the paragraphs is going to be tricky. There's going to be 2 or 3 words that are very, very tricky. And I just want to show you some of them. For example, in the first paragraph, everything is more or less okay. I think went off to fight. The significance really is they left to fight. And the word here is very important. It's former hunt. That's really, really good vocabulary, okay? So here they say, as the number of gamekeepers decreased, and I'll just try to make the screen a bit bigger so you can see. I think I need to press zoom in. Yeah, okay, perfect. So here, basically, they went off to fight, they left, they departed to fight. But here, recolonizing many of its former haunts. So this word is very, very important. To haunt, we also say a haunted house is the most famous expression, when the ghost, fantasma in Espanol, the ghost in English, is haunting the house. They are terrorizing the house. But in English, we say a haunt is the place that you regularly visit. And it's typical in Ireland for your favorite bar, your favorite pub, your favorite restaurant. This is your favorite haunt because you continue to return, maybe like the ghost. So that's the expression, that's the connection. This is your favorite haunt, it's your favorite place. So here, former is very important as well. Former job, former position, former manager. And it means basically ex, your ex-manager, your ex-position, your ex-job. And very, very good vocabulary. That's the key vocabulary in that paragraph. The next paragraph, waits for a while, a little time, rapt concentration. So this is very, very proficient, and the significance is really intense concentration. Rapt concentration is like intense concentration, but it's not so typical. It's very, very proficient, and it might be difficult to understand possibly in this paragraph, but you just need to understand the general idea. Okay, ears twitching. This is very, very good vocabulary as well. So the verb when your ears are twitching, and it's typical for children in school, for example, with the pen, and they are not comfortable. They're very uncomfortable. They're very uneasy. So they're twitching. They're always moving and moving and moving. So they're twitching. They're a bit nervous. Okay. But for example, if your ears are twitching, it means they're moving just a little. Okay. So your ears are twitching. It's like a little natural movement. And that's the significance here. Because he's very concentrated, his ears are twitching. Okay. Just specific vocabulary and very, very good vocabulary, and everything else here, it's very important. A leap. Okay, so this is very, very good. And in another leap, he disappears into the gloom. So the gloom is like dark, depressing. The weather is very gloomy. So the adjective is very, very gloomy. And it's like very, very dark weather, very depressing weather. Okay, so that's a significance, depressing. But here the verb is to leap, and the significance is associated with the salmon leaps. You know, the fish, the small fish, the salmon. So it's very typical that the salmon leaps. So it's almost the same as jump. It's exactly the same as jump, maybe a bit higher and maybe a bit more descriptive. In Dublin, we have a leap card, and the leap card is the card to permit you to change from the bus to the train to, that's because you basically jump. Okay, so a leap card is typical in Ireland, but the verb to leap is to jump. And we say a leap of faith, and the significance is the moment when you have a lot of doubts and you are very unsure and you have no more information, but you need to progress. You need to take the next step. It's a jump. It's a leap of faith. So you have to trust everybody. You have to trust the situation. A leap of faith is a famous expression. So that's the most important vocabulary in that paragraph. The next paragraph, I think more or less everything is okay. Not too difficult. And in fact, I think at advanced level, there's no real problem with this. Just shortly means in the near future. In the next paragraph, D, very, very specific vocabulary for the forest and for trees. Very, very difficult. For example, deciduous, coniferous, woodland. Very, very specific vocabulary for the forest and for the trees. The verb to shelter is important, to protect yourself. Okay, so to shelter a child is to protect a child. We also say maybe a bus shelter. So that's the location where you need protection from the rain. It's the bus shelter. And maybe you can say a tax shelter. So a tax shelter is the country or the jurisdiction or the area that permits you to maybe save your tax or to reduce the tax that you pay. It's a tax shelter. Rare, very, very important. Again, scrub, thickets. For me, I've never seen that word before in my life. So it's just an example of the difficulty sometimes of specific vocabulary. And again, marsh is like the wet area in the forest, I think like a swamp. So there is a very important word in English, a swamp. And it's like the ground that's very wet in the forest, and it's possible to sink. Okay, so you sink in the swamp. And also you can say, I am swamped with work. And the significance is you're very, very busy. So you are sinking because you have so much work. It's a negative situation. Really famous as well. And I think they're the most important words in that paragraph. Again, very, very specific for vocabulary related to the forest and trees. The next expression is the curiosity is aroused. Okay, and it's like attracted. To arouse your curiosity is basically to ignite. your curiosity or to start your curiosity. So very, very good vocabulary. To arouse your curiosity is to really excite your curiosity or to ignite. So really good vocabulary. And no problem. I think adept is very similar in Spanish. If you're very adept at something, como adepto, you're very talented, you're very good, you're very adept at mathematics, you're very adept at painting, you're very talented, you're very skilled, you're very good. Paragraph F, the verb here to undertake is important, and it means basically to do. So to undertake a job is basically to do or to start a job. And to undertake a new responsibility is really to accept the new responsibility, to take under you. So to undertake a new job is to start a new job. And here it's research. So to undertake research is to start, to take responsibility and to do the research. So it's really, really good vocabulary and nothing really more difficult than that paragraph. And the final paragraph, folk, is just another word for people in general. So Irish folk are very happy. The folk is like, folks are just people. It's another way to say people. American folks, American people. It's possible my folks, the significance are my parents. Okay, so that is specific as well. To speak with my folks, the significance is to speak with my parents. Okay, so good vocabulary. Also, we have folk music, which is a very typical type of music, maybe country music. And that's it, because the rest of the vocabulary is clear. So again, it's a very, very good exercise. It's necessary that you are very familiar with the structure to prepare for exams. It's necessary that you are very familiar with these structures. You know what to expect on the day. You know what to expect in the exam. So there's no surprise. And really the time is a massive, massive part of these exams. You need to be very comfortable with the time pressure. You need to be very adept at managing the time and performing the exercise with the pressure. And at the same time, you need to be good at selecting the correct answer. That's the ultimate goal. You need to select the correct answer. That's your real job. So practice is important. This vocabulary is very, very important just for this video, but you don't need to understand everything in the exam. It's impossible to understand everything. The most important thing is that you select the correct answer. Okay, and that's just another part. So that's part 7. Remember, in the Cambridge exams, you have part 1, 2, 3, 4 are for use of English, like grammar exercises. Part 5, part 6, part 7, part 8 in the advanced are reading exercises. So that's 4 reading exercises and 4 grammar exercises. And that's the full paper completed of reading and use of English. The other part is the writing. You have 2 parts in the advanced exam for Cambridge of writing. The listening, you have 4 parts in the listening, and the speaking, you have 4 parts as well. So that's the total of the exam. That's the content of the exam. So very interesting. You can see again the vocabulary here more or less is quite good, and I recommend that you try to review the vocabulary. I will put the vocabulary at the bottom of the video, and today it's just an opportunity to show you an example of the reading exercises from the advanced level C1. Okay, I know a lot of native speakers will have a lot of difficulty with these exercises. It requires a lot of concentration, it requires a lot of energy, and it requires patience, but at the same time it requires speed and accuracy. So there's no secret. You just need to be prepared for this type of exercises. So I think that's sufficient. Again, thank you so much for watching the video on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and remember there are free material on my website, on my Facebook page. You can see all the free content, the free videos. And in the mornings at 9 o'clock, we have a speaking group for maybe 10 people for €1. You're welcome to join the speaking group. There's new people welcome all the time. That's at 9 o'clock on Zoom. And it's very interesting for corrections, for debate, and also for opinion. At 4 o'clock every day, we have specific webinars. So yesterday, this material is an example from yesterday's webinar dedicated to the C1, to the advanced. And every day it's different. Wednesday, it's the IELTS. Today it's Friday, and we have the business English at 4 o'clock. Saturday at 1 o'clock, we have the B2 first certificate, and Monday it's grammar, and Tuesday it's sport at 4 o'clock. So very interesting. There's a small fee of €2.90 for people to join and participate, but very cheap and very good value. And hopefully you can join, and I will see you soon, hopefully. So thank you again, and you're welcome to connect on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everything. We have all the social media. So thank you so much, and have a great day, and hopefully talk to you soon. Bye-bye.